Hey, what's up guys, Gypsy, and I'm back here today bringing you guys the remainder of my Draft Premier League season. The last game I uploaded was my Week 6 game, and I actually had Week 7 off because we'd already clinched at that point, and we were up against PG, who were a team that I think had, I don't know if they were locked for playoffs at this point, but they had a pretty good chance of making it. Either way, I was really flat out this week. I think I was moving, or I was just getting prepared to move, so I took the week off, but the Young Goaters won out the week, so we ended up going undefeated, which was really awesome because we definitely worked hard for it, definitely this season for sure. Like, the boys really clutched it out each week. I know I was in a lot of tiebreak situations at the end of the week, which is obviously not a situation you want to be in every single week, but we got the wins where it mattered, and they ended up winning in Week 7 as well. So we're here in the semi-finals. We obviously had the first seed, and we are up against PG. Now, I'm playing in ORAS again this week. I'm up against AM22, who is their best, I think the guy with the best results on their team so far this season of DPL. He actually had the best ORAS record because he exclusively played ORAS. I don't think he played any Ultra Moon draft. So I think statistically, AM22 actually had the best ORAS record. So yeah, continuing the trend of facing each team's top player. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm pretty confident I can beat him. And I've built a team that I'm really, really happy with for this one. So yeah, it looks to be fun. He's definitely a strong player, and he's had a really, really good showing in this tour so far. So yeah, got to win it for the team, of course, here. So we're here with this ZAM team, which I have used a couple of times in the tour so far. It does have Lando T, Azu, Ape, some pretty nice offense with Mega Zam, double Psychic Core with Reuni. This team was able to 6-0 L5 when I faced him, and it's had success in the hands of other guys on my team. So yeah, it's done pretty well. But yeah, we're up against AM, and he's got a pretty interesting team in the sense that a few key members are able to really kind of block Zam from being as effective as it has been in other games. Just with Victini, Hydreigon, and Skarm, it really forces certain coverage on Zam. And with Wish passing from Aromatisse, which I felt like was definitely likely to come, he's able to keep those kind of bulky checks to Zam in pretty good form. That being said, like, he doesn't have very good counterplay to my Lando, and he really is going to struggle with the double Psychic Core. I think if Alakazam and Reuni, if I can just weaken down either his Skarm or his Aromatisse, it should be pretty easy for my Psychic Core to overwhelm him in the late game. Infernape's not going to do too much this game. It's kind of just, it's checked by his Venusaur, which is crazy to think, and his Donphan is a pretty solid check to it, especially if you can keep it healthy with Wish. And that being said, it's a pretty solid rocker. I'm actually like a charcoal set, I think, or something like that, to allow me to throw off really powerful overheats versus the Donphan if he wants to bring that. And yeah, I think I'm just like a standard T-Wave defensive Spidef Reggie for his for stuff like his Venusaur and his Hydreigon. I'm a Roselli Hydra in this matchup as well. The interesting thing, the kind of most interesting set on the team is my sub SD Spidef Lando. Now, this Lando is capable of subbing on stuff like defensive Giga Drains from his Venusaur, Moonblast from his defensive Aromatisse. He can't really justify the offensive Aromatisse bring in this game. It's got really no place here with me having Registeel and stuff like Reuniclus. So yeah, this Lando is a really solid mid-game breaker to open up my Psychics or a nice late-game win condition. His only EQ, I guess, immunities or checks are his Skarmory and his Hydreigon, and if they are potentially lured by my Psychic Core, Lando is going to be looking in a fine spot. But I know AM's going to play it well. That's something I'm going to have to think about down the road as we get into the game, but we're going to start it off here. So I'm going to lead off with my Ape, as he does lead off with his Victini here, and expecting him to be a Scarfed Victini, either Scarfed or AV. Both are pretty solid checks to Mega Zam. Or you just useful tools in this game. I think Scarfed Victini has a better kind of case for it to be Scarfed versus anything else on his team. Scarfed Hydra is decent, but Scarfed Victini is better because spamming V-Create is pretty solid versus my team. I don't have good counterplay to that apart from a bulky Hydra, so He's going to lead off with his Scarf Teeny and go for U-turn, as I just U-turn myself, getting that nice momentum early. I'm going to go into my Hydra here, which is Roselli Berry. I can obviously live a player up from this thing if I need to, and fire for Draco, weakening Donphan, which was going to be pretty huge for my Ape and my Reggie, because those things need Donphan chipped before they can take it out with Overheat and Seismic Toss respectively. So going to drop a Draco here on the Donphan, as he does actually go for the player up, and he's going to crit me here, which is pretty unfortunate because it actually puts me in range of the Ice Shard the following turn, which I would have been out of range of had he not crit me there. But that being said, like, Draco wouldn't have taken out Donphan at 34%, given that the first one did 56. So I would have had to switch Hydra out anyway, but I would have been out of range of switching in on rocks. And because I'm now at 12%, I'm going to have to play pretty aggressively to get Hydra back in on rocks, as I don't have any removal in this team, obviously. So I'm going to switch out here into my Reuni, as he is just going to fire off the Ice Shard. And this turn I'm going to recover up on the off chance that he wants to knock. Reuni is incredibly important for taking on his Venusaur, his Skarmory, and his Aromatisse. So I don't want to risk this thing taking 70 from an offensive Donphan's knockoff, and then being unable to switch on anything later in the game. So he's going to make the switch out to Skarm, so I just go for the recover here. Completely stand by that play. It did lose me momentum there, of course, but it was worth the trade, like I just explained. I'm going to get Hydra in on rocks here, which is really nice for me because I can just roost up and potentially scare the Skarm out, but he does stay in and go for the Whirlwind, so that's best case scenario for me. It's going to bring in my Lando and reveal I am lefty, so that does give him some information. But I'm going to go out into my Zam as he just Whirlwinds out. I go Zam because I don't take hazard damage, and I'd rather something else in on this Skarmory first, as he Whirlwinds me back out to Hydra, so I can roost up once again, get this thing up to a nice amount, as he is going to bring in his Aromatisse. I'm going to go hard out into Infernape here, on the off chance that he wanted to double into his Donphan, expecting my Reggie on his Aroma would have been nice for me, because I just clicked the Charcoal Overheat there, or got my rocks up if I expected him to switch. But honestly, Overheat was so free if he went Donphan. Nothing wants to take it, so he's going to wish up with his Aromatisse, as I am going to fire off the Overheat, not wanting him to get his, presumably, Assault Vest Donphan in on rocks, and wish it up to a nice amount of health, because then I'm in a tough spot. I'm going to have to waste something else to weaken down the Donphan, and Hydra losing its berry early will kind of be all for nothing. So he's gonna go for Moonblast this turn and do a considerable amount to Ape, as this turn I am just going to throw up my rocks, as he does go for the Wish once again. And this turn again I'm going to go for the Overheat, because I really do need to prevent that Donphan from coming in safely. And this Aromatisse is actually set up fodder for my Lando, so I'm going to let him take out my Ape here and just bring in my Lando to just set up a nice SD in the face of this Aromatisse, as he's just going to go hard out into his Venusaur here, as I'm going to set up my SD here, sorry. I am well and truly creeping a defensive Venu, creeping a conservative creep on Venu, so I'm going to be able to sell up here as he does fire off the Toxic. I presume to be Toxic or Leech or something like that on his Venusaur. Wasn't expecting Roar at all. And this is really nice for me because I get a sub up, and now, yeah, Lando's looking dangerous. So I'm going to get another SD up here as he goes into Skarm. My sub actually lived the Giga Drain. I'm almost max Spadev on this Lando, which isn't really a set. I don't think I've ever seen a set like this on Lando brought before, but it's pretty unique for sure. So Gonna go for the second SD and just click Superpower here, get a nice chunk off on Skarm, putting it really low, and he's gonna Whirlwind me out as I get Whirlwinded out into Reggie. Obviously, had I gone out into Zam or Hydra, he would have been in a very difficult spot because his Skarm would have been forced out and only left at 22%, switching back on rocks later, unless he's able to spin them away with Donphan, so that would have been really nice. But unfortunately, he Whirlwinds me into Reggie, which means I can just fire off the T-Wave here, and I start clicking Seismic Toss. So this paralysis is gonna be helpful, especially if I get that Lando Skarmory matchup later in the game. I can potentially SD up as he gets paralyzed, and then hit him with a +4 superpower once again. But he's gonna start clicking Roost here, getting back up to a nice amount, as I'm just gonna be spamming my Seismic Toss as he brings in the Venusaur. And right here, instead of staying in and clicking T-Wave versus this Venusaur and losing my lefties to the most obvious knockoff of my life. I'm just going to go hard Hydra on his knock, which is going to be pretty nice because also keeping lefties on Reggie is going to be really important for the aromatase, as I do just fire off the T-wave expecting him to switch out, most likely to his aromatase, but even if he stayed in, that would have been really solid for me, just getting the paralysis off there. But this thing is going to reveal to have the aromatherapy, which is going to be obviously really nice for him. He doesn't have to worry about the paralysis on Scum anymore, and this is going to give me another SD. He's going to go back out into his Scum. Now, this turn, like coming up, I contemplated going for the second SD, but getting damage off on this Scum with the potential opportunity to crit was definitely more in my favor to give me some sort of positive out of the turn. If I just went for an SD and he whirlwinded, I would have got nothing there. So I'm going to force the whirlwind here as I do go for this second SD, and this brings in my Zam. Right here, I'm going to fire with the Focus Blast, just wanting to see is he going to scout for the T-Wave. I can't use Zap Cannon unfortunately in this gen, but is he going to scout for some kind of super effective coverage as he does go into his Victini here. I also could have had Taunt or like Encore or something like that on my Zam, so him going Tini was a fair play, so he's just going to click the U-turn here. He's going to go back out into his Hydra, and this turn I'm going to go hard out into my Reggie, I think back on his Aroma switch. So it's a pretty long game, but there's definitely a lot of thought process went into this game on both sides. I'm going to go out into my Zam here, as he does just go for the Wish with his Aromatisse, knowing that my Reggie can't really do a lot to actually hurt this thing. As my Shadow Ball, I'm going to go for Shadow Ball here, just on the off chance he wanted to go into his Donphan or his Victini, both of which would have been taken out by Shadow Ball after rocks. And if he wants to stand and go for Moonblast, it's going to bounce off Zam, which is really nice for me. And that Shadow Ball damage actually tells me that he's definitely Spit F, which means Psyshock is really going to hurt. And that's the nice thing about Zam. It has the kind of ability to get around Spit F checks with Psyshock, and it's massive base special attack. So I'm going to get the crit there with Psyshock, which is obviously really nice for me, meaning that he's going to be forced to Wish sooner, as I'm going to be able to keep him pretty low with the Psyshocks. It's doing 55, so it's doing about the same amount as Wish plus Lefties is, but he is getting back more net HP just through having access to the Lefties, but I'm burning through his recovers, which is really important. And here I'm just going to go for the Psyshock into his Scum, as Focus Blast does a nice amount, does a nice 50, and so that kind of reveals that he's in a mixed def set. He's definitely got some Spit F, but he's certainly Fizz def to a degree, judging on the way he took Lando's Superpower. And he's going to switch out here and go out to his Venusaur, not wanting to risk the follow-up Focus Blast, but my Shadow Ball had a really good chance to kill it, or at least keep it low there, so I felt like that was the more optimum play rather than wasting a Focus Blast, because I might need those later in the game if he does get Scummery back up to a nice amount. So he's going to sack off Venu here. It's going to go down, so that's really nice for me. That's one less sack he can bring in versus Lando or Zam, as he's going to be forced to bring back out his Victini here, and this is nice. This thing's taking chips, so if I can prevent Donphan from spinning, he's only got one more switch in, which is really nice. So going to sack off my Hydra here, as Tini's going to go down. And this is going to afford me Zam once again, as I can just click, I think I click Shadow Ball this turn, as he does go into his Hydreigon. I think I click Shadow Ball, yeah. So it gets chip off on Hydra, and it tells me something about his spread. So I'm going to go back out to Lando here, as he does just go for the Roost. And this reveals that he's obviously not a Scarfed set, he's not double Scarf. There's a good chance this thing is the Fighting Berry Chopper, which he is. So I'm going to pop that, which means that Zam is in a prime spot to take this out, or revenge it with Focus Blast later in the game. And my Lando only took, how much did it take? 29 from that thing's Dark Pulse, which is pretty impressive. So yeah, Reggie's going to come in and threaten the T-Wave here, as I am just going to go for the Seismic Toss this turn, as he's going to bring in Donphan. Now this turn, I choose not to risk Reggie losing a speed tie here, or he could even have some sort of speed investment, so I'm not going to risk Reggie at this point in the game. I am going to switch out. I later find out that I'm actually faster than his Donphan, which would have been really good to know earlier had I just stayed and gone for the Seismic Toss. But I go out to my Reggie, my Reuni here, and yeah, he's just going to rapid spin the rocks away, which is nice for his Victini. So I'm going to have to get those back up as soon as I can. He's going to Wish up, it's sort of the similar situation like I talked about earlier. I don't want to risk his Donphan coming in and getting that wish back up or his Victini, so I'm just going to click the Psyshock, and this turn I'm going to fire off the +1 Thunder, which is going to do a huge amount to his scum, and get the paralysis on that as he's going to whirlwind me back out as I'm switched out into my landers here. And I think this turn I just fire off I switch into Reggie, that's right. I switch into Reggie this turn expecting him to go into his Aromatisse on my superpower, but he actually goes hard out into Donphan here on the sack. I didn't expect to sack Donphan. I felt like he'd always preserve that to switch it in later on in the game when I went Reggie and attempted to get my rocks up to kind of instantly get momentum back in his favor. But he does choose to suck off Donphan, which I found interesting, as I'm just going to throw up my rocks here and just spam rocks, but I actually revealed to be faster, so I'm like, alright, this is sick. I'm just going to take this Donphan out here with the toss and get a little bit of lefty's back, but like Reggie's low, so Reggie's not even going to be a check to this Hydra anymore. So this thing's dangerous, but I do have my Spit F Lando as well as my Focus Blast Dam, so I'm just going to fire off the Focus Blast here. Just going to go for it as he does go out into his scum, and he is going to die to the Focus Blast. So Zam's hitting the blast out here as he is going to bring in his Victini for one last hit, and he's going to fire off the V-Create here. Reuni is now obviously in range of a follow-up, but he's just going to go into his Hydra here actually, and he uses this, I guess, as a way of getting it back up to a nice amount of health, so I can respect that. Not wanting to like waste the opportunity. I'm going to go for the Carmine here as he does just go for the Roost, and after taking that Dark Pulse I actually get flinched, which is pretty unfortunate, as I attempt to go for the Thunder or the Recover. But this turn he's going to go for the Roost once again. He roosts up again as I click Thunder, and we get the paralysis there, which is nice. It means Lando will be able to outspeed him and click Superpower. So he's going to sack off his Victini here as I just recover up, and now he's going to go back out into his Aromatisse. Now here I'm like, alright, I know how he's going to play this. He's obviously going to Aromatherapy in an attempt to get his Hydreigon in a situation where it can beat my Lando 1v1. It's not going to be paralyzed. So what I want to do to take advantage of this is just go hard out into my Lando and set up a sub in the face of this Aromatisse, which either guarantees me a safe superpower versus the Hydreigon, or an SD if he decides to stay in with his Aromatisse. And that is what's going to happen. I'm going to sub up here, and Spit F Lando is going to prove its worth by having its sub live that Move Blast. And it's kind of looking clean for me now because I can just click SD as his second Moonblast is going to break my sub, and I could sub up the following turn, as I will not have my sub broken by his Moonblast, and I can just click EQ here. I think he goes for Protect here. Yeah, he goes for Protect to get out of range. Really solid play, kind of his only play there really, unless I was wild and SD'd again, but EQ was always my play here as his Aromatisse is going to drop, and now Hydreigon is going to come in and die to Superpower. So yeah, that was a pretty intense game. Definitely, I think AM played really well. He brought a really nice theme, and certainly played it well. But I was pretty happy with the way this SD Spit F Lando worked out. That was a big one for the team because I think it was pretty close at this point. I think I forget if I think I might have played like kind of towards the middle of the week, but either way. As I'm sure a lot of you guys know, we weren't able to win the week. Neither team was. It actually went to a draw, which was kind of frustrating because like we had some games where we could have won. I'm just looking at the doc now, and so John beat LeJohn, and which was pretty nice. Count Riario beat Random. Random had a pretty rough season, I think. Wombo beat Ricepool, Thick Bunny beat Dave, and Vest managed to come out on top in Oras. Carson got beaten by Youngster Bill, and Damos won in Oras. So we had a kind of we tied for the week, and we had to go into a tiebreak. So it was pretty unfortunate. I think if one of our younger guys had clutched up and won, we would have been in a good spot. But unfortunately, we had some inexperience in our Ultra Sun. I don't want to say inexperience, but we just had like some poor performance in our newer gens, which kind of let us down a couple of times throughout the season, force us into these tiebreak situations, which is a bit frustrating to come that far, to be put in that, to kind of be backed in that corner, but it does happen. So yeah, we ended up moving on to the tiebreak. Pretty confident that we could obviously win the tiebreak with the caliber of players we had in a 3v3, but yeah, obviously PG, really solid side. So I'm going to pause it here and I'm going to get into my tiebreak game. Alright guys, so we're here with the game up against Wombo for the tiebreak for DPL semi-finals. We have already lost one game in the series. Unfortunately, John kind of got steamrolled by Count Iorio's Rain due to a pretty unfortunate misplay on his part. I think he really had the tools to win that one, but unfortunately, yeah, Rain just kind of went in versus his team. So we're one game down, and yeah, I'm up against Wombo. Now, Wombo's pretty solid player from what I hear. He's been spamming this team a lot in the tour, and he's had good success with it. It just so happens that yeah, this team that he has a fucked up good matchup versus my squad. He actually had Z Talon, as well as I think it was Z Selly, I think, on this team. And like Talon just fucking like ate my team alive. A defensive Zygarde is probably like a decent check to it, but a defensive Zygarde is so bad versus his team with stuff like Cocoon as an easy defensive counterplay to that. I really do need Zygarde as more of an offensive win condition in this game. So yeah, my Talon, my kind of physical check to his team is a Rocky Helmet Intimidate Luxray, which kind of speaks to this matchup. Unfortunately, Zam too. This is another Mega Zam draft. I'm pretty known for using Mega Zam. Really can't function too well versus a team with Selly and Hydra. It's pretty rough. But I do have a tech on Zam that can potentially cripple a few members on his team. His likely switch-ins actually to Zam to free up the rest of my team to do decently. So I ended up bringing a pretty unorthodox squad. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen the replay, but I haven't really talked much about the team publicly. So I'm going to break down the kind of thought process behind the team. So we have a lead Skarm. I'm very fast, and I've got a pretty specific EV spread that allows me to pop a berry after like two blizzards from Ninetales, assuming he's not Specs. It allows me to like live I think I'm weak. I could be weak armor on this set, or I'm steady. I forget. I changed the Skarm a fair bit, but otherwise it's a lead fast Skarm to throw up hazards quickly, to taunt a potential Toxic Spike Nidoqueen, because that's another thing. Toxic Spikes ravages this team. Like bulky win conditions like Carmine Mew get nullified with the presence of Toxic Spikes. Unaware Clef is just raped if Toxic Spikes are up on the field. And I've got no way of removing them unless I bring Defog Skarm or Defog Mew, which gets poisoned in the process. I think I had Vileplume on my team, but it's so incredibly bad in this matchup that like it's just not really a viable bring. So I'm sure Wombo will bring T-Spikes. It's a really solid bring here. And the best I can hope is that he's a slower Nidoqueen than I'm expecting if he's like a modest set. That makes some degree of sense, being able to hit like my Mew harder, being able to hit my Clef a lot harder. And he doesn't really need Timid to outrun anything on my team of note, apart from obviously a fast Skarm. So yeah, in theory it makes sense for him to run a slower, more offensive Nidoqueen. I'm obviously creeping like max speed, modest Nidoqueen, but if he does run Timid, then it's gonna be rough for my team. And then I've got a DD Figgy Berry Camouflage Facade Zygarde here. So yeah, this is aimed at beating a Scald spamming Suicune that attempts to burn my Zygarde. And it also helps me if I do get poisoned by the T-Spike. If I camouflage up, Facade is doing a huge amount to Suicune, and it actually does a decent amount to his Celesteela as well if I accumulate enough boosts. Then I have a Carmine Bolt Beam Z Electric Mew. I was originally, I think, Genesis Supernova, plus I was like double dance with Genesis Supernova and Dazzling Gleam, which is a really solid set. But I talked myself into bringing Bolt Beam, which yeah, is pretty decent on paper. It allows me to break through Celesteela a lot easier, but it puts me in a worse situation versus his Hydreigon and his Gallade. So there was a win-win, lose-lose there. Definitely upsides to both options. And then lastly, I have a pretty defensive clef with the Healing Wish tech, which can potentially revive either my Mew or my Zygarde if they get too low. The main kind of tech on Zam to lure, like I mentioned earlier, is Zap Cannon. I am running Zap Cannon, which can comfortably 2-KO Selly from my Mega Zam's crazy special attack set, as well as crippling his Zygarde, his Hydreigon, which is one of his only sort of viable scarfing options here. It's his best kind of method of speed control versus Zam, assuming he's not running like Shadow Sneak on his Mega Glade. So yeah, that is going to be the team. It's a pretty unorthodox. It's definitely not like a typical build from me, but the matchup was such that I felt it forced this kind of bring to be effective. If I brought Fat, I was just abused by Mega Glade plus T-Spikes. He also has Veil options with Autotomized Z Celesteela and SD Glade. Ultimately, like a Fat team would have been very bad versus this, and obviously like Sub Carmine Coon destroys Fat. So offense was the way to go. As sort of unorthodox as this team, as kind of bad as this team sounds in sort of theory, there's definitely a method to it. So I'm going to lead off with my Scum, as he does lead off with his Hydreigon. So this is nice for me. I'm going to fire off get up my rocks up, as he does just go for the Dark Pulse here. And this turn he's going to double into he's going to hard switch into his Queen, I guess, expecting my Clef. Like I said, I'm pretty confident this thing is scarfed, and if he didn't want to risk the roll, or he expected me to go Clef, Nidoqueen was always the play there anyway. So I'm going to throw up my Spikes, as he does actually outspeed me the following turn and get his Toxic Spikes up. So that's worst case scenario. Like I mentioned, he has brought the Timid Queen. I don't know what he was prepping for, but the timid nature really paid off for him there. It definitely paid off, because now my win conditions are going to be poisoned, and that's just a unfortunate outcome in this game. So I'm going to attempt to get a Brave Bird off here, or get up another Spike, as he does just go for the T-Bolt. So this turn I'm going to bring in Zam. I'm going to go for the Substitute here, as he's always switching out Nidoqueen. He's always preserving it for my Clef and for my Luxray. There's no way he's sacking it to Zam. And if he Sucker Punch or something, obviously Sub bypasses that. Other way, Zam gets a Sub up, as he does go into his Selly, and this is the kind of way I expected Wombo to play it. If he went hard Hydra, I'd be behind a Sub. So ultimately Sub worked out for me there, as I can just fire off a Zap Cannon in regular form. And even if he stays in, if he dodges the first one, I've got a chance to hit the second one. So either way, getting at least like 40 or 50% off on this Selly and getting the guaranteed paralysis puts stuff like Mew and Zygarde in a better position, as well as Clef. Really does help out Clef quite a bit. So gonna go for the I am Cosmic Power. I was calling Cosmic Power, Soft Boil, Healing Wish, and Moonblast on my Clef. So getting the paralysis off does help quite a bit. But anyway, I'm going to fire off the Zap Cannon here, and I do miss, unfortunately, as he is going to go for the Heavy Slam. And the following turn, I'm just going to stay in and click it once again. But unfortunately, yeah, we miss again. So this Zam was unfortunately not able to have any sort of impact in this game, which really kind of sets me back, as this thing should be. This thing could well have been either taken out, or at least at around 50 with the paralysis on it. So this is unfortunate for me, as I am just going to go for the Dragon Dance up here, hoping he's going to go hard out into his Suicune. But now that he's sort of used up Celesteela's real purpose in this game of checking Zam, it is more expendable, so he can stay in here and afford to go for the Hidden Power Ice. Definitely a fine play by Wombo there, as I'm going to go for the Camouflage this turn and soak up the Hidden Power Ice, but this poison is just racking up too quickly, and yeah, it really is going to be the nail in the coffin for this Zygarde. So he's going to go for the Leech here, and in conjunction with Poison, that's going to be doing a massive amount. This turn I think I do just go for the Facade, as he switches out into his Coon, which is nice. I can show off the tech. I think I click it. Yeah, I click it here, which does a nice 55% and is going to leave me at about 7 here, as he does just click Protect. So he's potentially Carmine Protect, Carmine Sub Protect, or he could be like Protect 3 attacks, Protect defensive. Other way, he's a fat Coon for sure. So I'm going to go into my Mew here and outspeed the Coon, as he does reveal to be Carmine, so he's Carmine Protect. He could be like Toxic Raw, potentially over Sub, or he's just going to be the standard Vine Coon set. Either way, Mew's going to get up to a nice amount. And I'm just going to fire off my Z move here, not wanting to let this coon get to any higher health with his lefties, as obviously this is pretty nice for me, as he's going to bring his Glade down. This is rough. Like, I have to switch out here. I can't take a knock off for an X Scissor. I don't want to risk it. I'm just going to go hard into my Luxray, which is going to get some nice chip off on this thing. Obviously, like, he's got a pretty easy switch in near to Queen. I think I go for the Raw here. As I do, I go for the Raw. So yeah, Raw plus Hazard Stack, pretty solid in conjunction. I tried to make this like Luxray, like, it's not as bad a mon as people think. Like, it's pretty fucking awful, but it was kind of my best bring here. So I'm gonna go into Clef, as he is just gonna go for the defog here with his Hydra. So yeah, Wombo prepped nicely for this game. He had the defog in the back, even if I did bring the Hazard Stack, which is definitely fair. So I'm going to go for the Flamethrower here, just going to spam that, as he is going to go for a heavy slam here and deal a huge amount of Clef, as I'm now just going to fire off the Healing Wish and attempt to make something happen with Mew, but it really is over at this point. He's Scarfed Hydra for sure. He's potentially Encore Ninetales. He should be Encore Ninetales, honestly, or maybe even like Specs Trick or something like that if this thing gets Trick. And he's got a pretty healthy Glade, so this is going to be a bit of a wrap right here, as he's gonna die to his die to recoil after this turn, and Luxray is gonna get down in the process, as he does die to CC here, and he's gonna go out into his Ninetales here, and I think revealed to be Specs potentially, or Never Melt Ice at least, as he's gonna take out Mew with a Blizzard. So that was my unfortunate my tiebreak game for DPL. Definitely unfortunate to go out that way. We Young Goaters had a really solid season. Very proud of the team to go undefeated like that. Would have been nice to not be in this tiebreak situation if we were able to clutch it up in the actual week when we played our semi-finals. But yeah, it does happen. PG put up a good fight for sure. They played well and really prepped well in the tiebreak game here. Definitely, I do think this team had a pretty rough matchup versus the team that Wombo had, but you get those. You get good matchups, you get bad. I definitely had some good matchups during the season. I had some rough ones too, but this was particularly hard. I think the tools that I had, like, it was a pretty passive team with stuff like Clef and Skarm, which is effective versus a lot of teams. You can kind of build a fat balance around these mons with like offensive win cons in Zam and DD, like Z, Zygarde and Z Mew, but versus such an offensive team with such potent balance breakers in like Hydra, Coon, Gallade, with like really solid sweepers in Gallade and Selly with Veil support. It's a pretty rough matchup for this squad. But that being said, Wombo prepped great and he played it well. PG went on to I think to go on to finals after this. They ended up losing to the Token Minorities, but I think it was a pretty solid week. I forget. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, but either way, TTM ended up winning DPL. And honestly, DPL was so much fun. I think this is like a really good idea, and I think this really breathed some new life into the draft format. I think we all needed it. I think there's a ton of talented players out there who are really kind of really keen for some sort of SPL equivalent in the draft format. I know there's been a lot of people who are kind of getting more notice now that they participated in DPL. So with DPL Season 2 right around the corner, if any of you do want to get involved with this, definitely check out, I'll leave the sign up form in the description below this video. Definitely consider signing up, because whilst there are only 10 teams, I think they actually expanded this season in DPL Season 2. If you're a competent player and you've got some replays to showcase your skill, and you want to get involved in tryouts for the different teams, it's a really good way of getting noticed in the community and getting your name out there, really putting yourself out there and getting on people's radar. You could get involved in other leagues in the future, or just make a name for yourself in the tournament scene, really break out. Definitely something I recommend. But yeah, that's going to be it for my DPL Season 1 coverage. I want to kind of quickly reflect on the team, like the Young Goaters that I was with. John was he was the most active captain. He was the captain. I think Rando was the co-captain. Rando wasn't really active much of the season. He sort of played a few games and dipped, but he was pretty chill from what I saw. But John was really reliable each week. He won each week. I don't think he lost the game all season, apart from the tiebreak game that he played before I played this one. So yeah, shout outs to John. He played well, he led well, and he was definitely a good presence in the chat. And then we had guys like Risepool was, I think, one of our more expensive players. He was pretty active early on in the season. Definitely helped the guys with team building. He kind of dipped later on in the season. I don't know if he was just busy with real life stuff, but he was a lot less active in the later part of the season. But he, for the early stages, he certainly kind of piped up. He got some wins. Big Daddy Dave was he was funny. He's a chill guy and he's a good player. I think he got kind of more confident in his plays as the tournament went on. I know he's more of a younger player, or kind of he's not like a veteran player by any means, but I think he's growing more confident the more he plays, and definitely being on a team with some of these other guys boosted his confidence a bit. He's definitely a solid player. Keen to see him play again. And then we had Vess, who I think surprised a lot of people with his performance in RS. I don't think many people kind of expected Vess to be so solid. We got him pretty cheap compared to like some other players that were drafted. We got him, reasonably cheap. Like he went for like 10 or 12 or 15k or something, but he pretty much won like every week in RS. I think he may have lost one, but he just bossed up with the Mega Save Light Talent team, which is sick to see. He's a pretty controversial guy, but he was good. He was good support for the team. Then we had Carson, Golden Centurion, my boy. He won quite a few of his games. I think he got lucked on a couple, which is, you hate to see that in a tournament, but he's always a good chat presence. He's got a great attitude towards Mons. And then we had Damos, who played well, who was good support for the team. And I think he earned his price tag. I think he'll go for more next season for sure. I think Damos is a talented player, and he definitely took the ORAS Rain team to a lot of success. So yeah, that was the team. Wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these guys like John, like Damos, go for a lot more Vess. I think we'll go for a lot this time around. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Hopefully I can pair with these guys again at some point. If we get back on the same team, but either way, it was fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed. I'd like to hear what you guys thought of the DPL, what you guys thought of our run in the Draft Premier League for Season 1, and let me know if you guys are thinking about signing up for Season 2. Obviously, not everyone who signs up is going to get drafted. There's only like, I think, something like 90 spots or something like that, depending on what the minimum requirement of players on a team can be. But even if you don't get picked this time around, there's a good chance if you get involved, you can be on people's radar for the next time. So yeah, definitely recommend you check it out. But yeah, that's gonna be it for the video. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and let me know what you thought of the DPL. I'll catch you guys next time.